So, new puppy owners have an incredible opportunity. The first few months of a dog's life have the greatest impact on who they become as adult dogs. And this is why, for anyone raising a puppy under 4 months old, socialization should be your number one priority. It is more important than teaching sit and stay. I dare say it's even more important than potty training, because we have a limited time available to us to get the most bang for buck out of socialization. So, but what is socialization? What is it really? And how can I make sure I'm doing it right? And what happens if I don't? There is a lot of conflicting and confusing and overwhelming information out there today. And I want you guys to walk away from this video with the knowledge you need and the confidence to make the decisions that are going to be right for you and your pup. And if you don't know me, I am Jennifer Malloway. I am a dog trainer and behavior consultant, and my job is to help you have the most magical relationship possible with your dog. And socialization can have a massive effect on that relationship, which is why it's a subject so near and dear to my heart. And it's why we need to talk about it today. Because a lot of people are getting puppies. And maybe you just got a pup, or maybe you're about to, or maybe you know someone who just got a pup or is about to get a puppy. And if you do, you should probably go share this video with them right now. And of course, if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you don't miss any other crucial information about dogs. But let's get back to socialization, shall we? I still hear from a lot of people that they are afraid to take their puppies who are not yet fully vaccinated out into public. And a lot of people are waiting until after their final round of puppy shots, which usually falls around that 16-week-old mark. And at a glance, this sounds like really smart advice. You want to protect your pup from viruses like parvo and distemper, and until their immune systems are prepared to handle that, why risk it? Well, I am about to tell you that this advice to keep the pups indoors until they're 16 weeks old is dangerous. But I want to make sure that I state that I am not making light of these viruses at all. They cause horrific diseases that are potentially life-threatening, and no one wants any puppy to suffer in that way. I am not recommending that everyone just throw caution to the wind, take your puppies anywhere, anytime. It's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that if you keep your pup indoors and isolated until they have had their final round of puppy shots, that can actually be more life-threatening or pose more risk than taking them out at the risk of encountering bacteria and viruses in their environment. Let's see. Impartial geek. Going to the bar is socialization, I think, for humans. I threw caution to the wind once. Very funny. And actually, so I did just look up the dictionary definition for socialization, and like many, many terms, there are multiple definitions of socialization, and it's really important to make this distinction. We're going to talk about that in a moment here. Because, yeah, sure, going to the bar would be one form of socialization, but not the one we're really concerned about with puppies. So let's see. Yeah, so yes, keeping pups indoors is until they're fully vaccinated would mean squandering this precious, critical developmental period where our pups are the most open that they will ever be to learning that the world is safe, and being open to novelty. This period in their development, we can do so much with it, and by being aware of what our pups are experiencing, we can help them reach their full potential as adult dogs living in our human society. Scott, it's not that kind of wind. You guys are funny. So I am about to unpack all this, but if you're thinking of leaving early, I just want to leave you with one thing before you go. Be sure to check out the AVSAB position statement on puppy socialization. That is the, I'm always going to get this wrong, but American Veterinary Society for Animal Behavior. This document says, better than I'll ever be able to, why early socialization is so important. And it is written by veterinarians who specialize in behavior. So they have your dog's physical and behavioral health as their best interest, and they have the expertise to advise responsibly. It is a great resource to share with your veterinarian if you're feeling at all conflicted. So if anybody's heading out early, just be sure to check that out. It's so important. But if you're sticking around, let's talk about what are the risks. If you completely ignore any advice to take your puppy out and to socialize them, what are the risks? So puppies that don't get socialized are at a increased risk of developing behavior problems as they get older. Behavior problems that include increased fear or avoidance or aggression. And those are behavior issues not to take lightly. Anything involving fear is going to be more difficult to tackle as an adult. So this is one area where prevention is key. Prevention is everything. I mean, you guys know me. I am all about prevention in everything because it's always easier than trying to fix a problem after it's developed. But when it comes to fear, you've got so much more work cut out for you if you miss the opportunity to prevent. So, socialization is your path. And these types of, actually, any behavior problem that your dog has the potential to cause a rift, to damage that. David, stop messing with my lights. Has a potential to cause damage to the bond that you have with your dog. If they're doing something that you don't feel equipped to handle and it is causing problems for you in your life, that's going to damage your bond. And we don't want that. So, yes.
Sorry about the light.
Okay, bye. And let me see. So Say says, this is a great topic as I handle rescue dogs. What would your recommendation be with a doggo that was caged during important years? Oh, years. Oh dear. Hang on. I'll come back to that in a second. Let me finish your comment here. Okay. What would your recommendation be for a doggo that was caged during important years as a puppy? When I got them, they didn't have a single vaccine, and I believe socialization was also out of the question. That's a really, really good point. And can I come back around to it? Because it's important, and we'll talk about that today. Let's see. Kevin says, I went to the vet. He threw me out and told me I'm not a dog. Biggest compliment I've ever received. I don't know. I wouldn't be that offended. I think dogs are great. But anyway, let me get through the risks first and say I'm going to come back to that topic because it's so important. They are at increased risk for more fear and aggression as an adult. These are behavior issues that will definitely cause damage to your bond with them. And they are the number one reason, behavior issues are the number one reason for relinquishment of pets to shelters and rescues. And the number one cause of death for dogs under 3 years old. It is it is more of a risk to your dog's lifespan than the risk of them catching deadly diseases like parvo and distemper. This all sounds very dramatic, and it's almost unimaginable when you've just brought home this happy, friendly bundle of joy, right? But now that dogs are increasingly deemed worthy of scientific study, because they weren't for the longest time, but now that we have more information. We know a lot more about canine development, and we know what to expect, and so you are we all receive the benefits of having this information so that we can set our dogs up for success for their life. Scott says, when I adopted my dog, one of the reasons I saw for one of the dogs being left at the shelter, he jumps on people. It broke my heart. And yeah, it's interesting. So their behavior problems can come in many flavors, right? And jumping on people is so common. And usually a dog jumping on people that's a pro-social behavior. That is something we love to see because it means that dogs they seek out contact with humans. And that behavior issue is a heck of a lot easier to fix than a fear or aggression issue, which is why I say, you know what, who cares if your dog jumps when, like, early on? I mean, if you've got a puppy and you want to, like, do all the training early and you've got the time, like, by all means, go for it. But if you could pick only one thing to work on when you've got a 2-month-old puppy, make it socialization. It, hands down, no question, socialization is way more important. You can fix the jumping later, but you'll never get that time back. So let's talk about that period of their life, that age. This is called sometimes a critical period of development or a sensitive period of development, and what that is for any animal is a period during their development where an animal is more their brains are prepared to learn certain things more readily. So in humans, because we are a language learning species, we have certain years of our life where we just pick up language like it's nothing. We actually have, I believe, a primary and secondary language learning period. So for humans, up until age 3, is that we're just learning so much about how to form words and how to use, so much. But even up until age 7, we're still very prepared to learn language, which is why, very young kids can pick up multiple languages like it's nothing. So that's an example of a sensitive period in human development. And just like us, dogs have these sensitive periods. And in a dog's development, this period where they are open, they're curious, they're playful, they just are open to learning that things are safe. That time, the primary time, lasts up until somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks of age. We don't know exactly. It's not exactly the same for every dog. For some dogs, their primary socialization window may start to close at 12 weeks. For other individual dogs, they may get up until that 16 weeks before their socialization window starts to close. But because we don't know, for any individual dog, you can't bring me a dog and I'm like, okay, this guy, he's got until 16 weeks. That one over there has 13, we don't know. So because of that uncertainty, if you've got a puppy and you care about them growing in, like, reaching their potential as a dog, in our human world, I would err on the side of caution. Make use of those first few weeks that you've got them, up until 12 weeks, heavily socialize, and then keep it going until 16 weeks and beyond. We do know that that breed can affect when that socialization window might close, or at least how likely as an adult, they are going to be to perceiving the world at large as safe, or perceiving novelty as safe. So we do know like general breed tendencies, and you can use that information to your advantage. If you've got a breed that tends to have more of these issues, you just work that much harder to make sure that you use that time when they're puppies to teach them everything is safe and happy. But again, it always comes back to the individual dog. So you there's no way to know when your dog's socialization window will close. So just make use of the time that you have. That's the gift that you've been given if you've got a puppy from 8 weeks old. Now, dogs do need to be having certain experiences from birth. And so if you happen to be getting a dog from a breeder, hopefully your breeder has done some of this work already. Now, puppies, their eyes and ears don't even open until they're about 2 weeks old, but they still are able to smell, and they still are able to feel, so they're still experiencing sensation, and sensation is part of socialization. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but my point is that there are things that your breeder can be doing in those first 2 months that they have them. So if that is the route you've chosen to go for where you obtain your puppy, it will pay off to be selective about which breeders you go to, because there's a range out there, and it will behoove you to just find a breeder who understands the importance of socialization, of raising the puppies in the home, around people, and providing them with different experiences, a variety of experiences, even before they go home to you. Now, because of their even earlier development and their requirements, their physical requirements, most of us don't get puppies until they are hopefully at least 8 weeks old. And I should mention, this too is, puppies should be with their mother until 8 weeks old. Responsible breeders will not place a puppy before they're 8 weeks old. In fact, it's illegal in a lot of places to do so. So if you are getting a puppy from a breeder or a pet store or online, or like if anyone is telling you that they're sending a puppy home with you before they're 8 weeks old, turn around and run. It's important. And we also know that puppies who are separated from their mother and their litter before 8 weeks will also have these risks of developing behavior problems as they get older. So let's see. So if you're getting a puppy, you're probably getting them at the earliest 8 weeks old, which leaves you at most 4 to 8 weeks to make the most out of this socialization period. And if your puppy is already older than that, or if you're getting a puppy and you can't bring them home until they are older than that, or you've already got a dog and they're already older, all is not lost. I said that the first 3 to 4 months of your dog's life have the greatest impact, but that doesn't mean that socialization ends. It's not a hard cutoff. Dogs do still need to continue to be exposed to the world, and to different stimuli, and to have different experiences in a way that is really positive for them. Even beyond their 3 or 4 month mark. It's just that we want to make the most of that time if you've got it. Like I said, it's a gift that you can use to your advantage. Let's see. Layton's BJ Layton. She says, I have been wanting to know, is there a way I can get a dog, like a small allergenic dog? I'm going to assume that you mean hypoallergenic dog, and that's an interesting topic. there are, it's such a tricky question. So there are no such things as non-allergenic dogs. People who have allergic reactions to dogs are usually responding to the dander that comes from their skin, or certain dog's saliva. Usually there are molecules that cause allergic reactions from their skin and from their saliva. Now, sometimes, depending on the dog's type of fur or hair, their coat type, they or perhaps their skin, maybe they just shed less, which means less of those particles in the air and in your environment. And so usually people will recommend getting that for people who have this concern, that one, you meet some of the dogs that you're considering getting, and you probably want to look at more wire-haired coats, or dogs that have hair instead of fur, like poodles. Doodles have become quite the craze. They're crossing poodles with almost any breed you can possibly imagine, and they are adorable. But anytime that you're crossing two completely different breeds, you could end up with any combination, physical and behavioral, any combination from those two breeds, which means that doodles are never guaranteed to be hypoallergenic. So if you are truly allergic, but you really, really want to get a dog, I would go with a purebred dog and meet some of the dogs beforehand, just to make sure that your reaction is mild. So hopefully that helps. But yeah. Where was I? Yes. So if you've got an older puppy, all is not lost. You do still want to continue with socialization throughout your dog's life, really. But definitely beyond that 4-month mark. Because it doesn't mean that, if your puppy didn't learn that certain people are not to be feared in those first 3 months of life, it doesn't mean that they can't learn it later. It just means that it might be harder. It's going back to our language learning example. Just because I didn't learn, I learned English. I think I can speak it okay. But I was never exposed to foreign languages until I was in high school. Doesn't mean that I can't learn a foreign language, but it means it requires a lot more effort on my part, and in all likelihood, I'm never going to be as fluent as I might have been had I learned it before I was 3 or 7. And that's kind of how our puppy's socialization window works. That's our time to teach them that all types of people, all ages, all races, all heights and genders, and all different kinds of appearances, that's our time to teach them that all types of people are safe, that other dogs are safe, that other species of animal are safe. Basically, anything that your dog might encounter in their lifetime, you want to just get them experiences with it. Short and sweet, but lots of short and sweet experiences with a variety of people, animals, locations, situations, things, sounds. Socialization is all of that. It doesn't mean, as David pointed out, socialization isn't just going to the bar. It's not going to the dog park. In fact, I would not recommend taking a dog under 6 months old to a dog park. I like dog parks. Dog parks can be very fun for dogs who enjoy them, but you never know who's going to be there. You never know what those dogs are going to do, and it's really important to protect your puppy during this window. Yes, get them out, but do it carefully, and we're going to talk about how to do that in a moment. So socialization doesn't stop at 4 months. Oh no, your job is not over. You just got a dog, which means that you're going to be teaching this dog how to get along in our society for its life. You're in it for a good 10 to 15 years probably. And that is really what socialization is. Like I said, it is teaching an animal how to, it's teaching them the skills that they need to survive in the world that they're going to live in, which essentially is the same as training. So if you think about it, is this where I'm at? Yes. Socialization is training, is teaching them how to get along. It's this whole thing, it's really all the same. Yeah. So socialization isn't just a separate thing from training. They really overlap, both of them. For both of them, the purpose is to teach them the skills that they need to survive and get along and be tolerated. Because like Scott pointed out, sometimes it's a manners issue, sometimes it's a fear issue. But yeah, so yes, and like David pointed out, going to the bar, we socialize. But if you look up in the dictionary definition of socialize, you'll get basically two definitions. One, without object. If I am going to socialize, full stop, that means I'm going to mingle with others. Maybe at a bar, probably not, because I'm not really a bar kind of person. But to socialize with an object, if you're a grammar nerd, meaning I am going to socialize this dog, that's the end of the sentence. That is teaching them skills to get along, here's the definition, to make fit for life in companionship with others. And in a dog's case, others might be humans, dogs, other species. They got to get along with all of us. They got to do it all. We expect a lot of our dogs, which means that socializing is a big task, especially for those of us who live in big cities. This actually plays a role in how you choose to socialize your dog. So if you live out on a farm and you never plan, your dog maybe works on the farm, and you don't plan to really take them much of anywhere, you won't need to do probably as much socialization as someone who lives in a big city, because city dogs don't have yards. They need to be taken places to go and exercise. They may need to go to daycares if their parents have jobs, which means that they're going to encounter a lot more than our country mouse, our country dog. And how you plan to socialize, you want to start by thinking about what is the life that my dog needs to lead. Where do I want to take them? What do I want to be able to do with them? Really think about what do I want my dog as an adult? What do I want them to be okay with? Hey, No Limit, welcome. Thanks for joining. So yes, they need manners. They do need to learn not to jump on people. But before that, let's teach them what do they need to know is safe. And there are tons and tons of puppy socialization checklists you can find, great resources all over the internet. I am still compiling my own, and it's growing and growing because there's always more situations that I'm like, ooh, I could socialize a puppy to this situation and that situation. And you don't have to do everything on the list. The idea is to expose your puppy to a variety of different situations so that as an adult, they are okay with novelty. We expose puppies to variety so that the adult is okay with novelty. Which means that when it comes to socialization, it's not just about quantity, it's not just about quality, it's both. You need a lot of experiences, you need a variety of experiences, and you need to make sure that all of those experiences are quality, meaning that they are positive, not overwhelming experiences for your dog. And what qualifies as positive and not overwhelming is going to vary greatly depending on the individual puppy. So you'll get to know your dog very well during this process, and that is going to help your bond too. Let's talk about, I've stressed that it's really, really important to get dogs out and experiencing the world well before they are 16 weeks old, when they have finally had their final round of puppy shots. But like I said before, we don't throw caution to the wind. It's still really important to take precautions. So let's talk about what those precautions might be. You do want to make sure that the puppies have had at least their first round of vaccines. At least. And for some dogs, they may come home from a breeder with their first round already. For other people, they might come home and get their first round right away. But they will still have some immunity that they're getting from their mother. And we want to combine that with their first round of vaccines just to give their immune systems a little boost. For me, that's the bare minimum. So have them have that vaccine and give it a couple days to kick in. And in that time, before you're taking them out into public, you can be exposing them to different experiences in your home. This isn't all about getting outside, but that part is important. So first round of vaccines, make sure that they are staying up to date on their vaccines as they're aging. I feel like that's maybe doesn't need to be said, but maybe it did. I don't know. So keep them up to date on their vaccines. You do want to avoid places that potentially unvaccinated dogs might frequent. So any public grassy areas, definitely not dog parks. As I said, I wouldn't even go there at least until they're 6 months old anyway. But yeah, any areas that are public and a lot of dogs might use as a bathroom, those are places you definitely still want to avoid with a very young puppy. But puppy classes and puppy socials can be very beneficial. I mean, puppy classes and socials for pups, 8 to 16 weeks old, this is their primary purpose for existence, is getting those puppies socialized. And they're usually great places to go because trainers who work there are going to be well aware of the physical and behavioral risks. Otherwise, why would we be doing our job, right? That's what we're here for. So we're going to be making sure that everything gets sanitized, that only puppies who have at least their first round of vaccines are attending, that puppies who are showing any symptoms of any kind of illness are not attending. The trainers there are going to be there to protect your pup. This is what we live for, guys. We're here for you and your dog. So puppy classes are great opportunities. And I stress this because this is something I hear a lot, where people they're very concerned. They've been told by someone somewhere that they shouldn't be taking their pup out anywhere, but especially not around other dogs until 16 weeks. And so they're concerned about even puppy class, but that's what those classes are for. Oh my goodness. So I don't want anybody to miss out because of that fear. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about this today. Let's see. Oh, and one other thing about the socials and classes, do make sure that you are attending classes run by trainers who use only positive reinforcement, force-free, fear-free methods, that your trainer is not doing anything that makes you or your dog uncomfortable, including putting a shock collar, prong collar, choke collar, anything like that on your dog. If you are attending a class and a trainer does anything like that, do not be afraid to get up and walk out. I mean, that sounds harsh, but I'm talking about socialization today and how important it is to make sure your pup has very positive experiences, because this is such an impactful time of their life. So think about if they're having traumatic experiences at the hands of a trainer at that early age, that's going to have a negative impact too. So don't be afraid to stand up for your dog. And that includes maybe walking out. It's that important. And one more benefit is you'll be setting a great example for other owners who might not be as confident to stand up and be an advocate for their puppy. So, I'm an advocate for force-free positive reinforcement training methods for all dogs of any age, but it is that much more important with young puppies. So, okay, whew, okay, got that off my chest. Oh my goodness. All right. So, yes, don't be afraid to attend puppy classes. That's what they're there for. And one other precaution for anybody who is still feeling very anxious and still wants to be cautious about taking their dog into public because they're very concerned about viruses and things like that. There are still ways to get your puppy out and about without them necessarily having to touch the ground. I mean, they make some really cool products like puppy slings and puppy backpacks, and my favorite is puppy strollers. Yes, it might feel silly, it might look ridiculous, or you might think it's awesome like I do. I was so excited to get a puppy stroller and and take our puppy out to socialize in the stroller. And these are great alternatives. It gives you a way to have control over the whole situation. It makes sure that your puppy's not touching the ground, but they are still getting the exposure that they need. So you can still make it a really positive experience. So yeah, so you still be careful, still take your precautions, keep your puppy physically healthy and safe, but get them outside, get those puppies outside. So how can we do this? How can we do this safely? Puppy purse, yes, Scott. You saw one yesterday. I mean, they're so fun. I think, I mean, they're adorable. I've seen so many people with, it looks like a purse or a puppy sling, and people will make jokes about it, but like there's a benefit to them. I mean, yeah, don't totally knock it till you try it. Okay, so how do we socialize? I have been thinking through just some ways to kind of simplify and think about this, and that's what I'll share with you now. So first of all, because and I've kind of framed it this way because, like I said, there's these checklists, and but a checklist doesn't really, it doesn't give you the frame of mind. It doesn't give you like a fully well-rounded picture. So if that's all you have to go on, you might still be feeling a little like, well, I don't know. Do I continue? Do I not? Like what, so in addition to your checklists, here's how I think about it. First of all, when it comes to socializing your puppy to something, first of all, be thoughtful. You want to plan intentional outings for socialization, where the purpose of the trip is the socialization. And I say this so that your attention is on the dog first. Bringing your pup out on errands that you'd be running anyway is fine, and it's great. That's not inherently bad, but it becomes more likely that if you're like, you came out with a different purpose, that purpose will potentially trump your pup's needs if your pup might interfere with you getting that done. So yeah, and pups' needs will shift and change as the environment shifts and changes. And so if you take them out with the purpose of socialization, it gives you a little bit more of a guarantee that you'll be putting the dog's needs first. And you will also notice where your pup is already hesitant or nervous. This is another way to be thoughtful about your outings. Is that if your pup is reacting in a little like anxious or hesitant way to something, this is information for you. This gives you areas to focus on. You want to give more attention to introducing your pup to those things in a gradual, manageable manner, not avoid them. If your pup is scared of certain situations, you don't want to just like avoid that situation altogether until they're 3 or 4 months old. That's actually where you want to devote more time. Now, doesn't mean don't overwhelm your pup. Don't force them into any situation where they're feeling a bit scared, but you do want to devote that time to letting your pup observe at a safe distance where your puppy feels safe. where they are aware of whatever it is that might scare them if it were closer, but at a distance where they can relax. So that's how to be thoughtful about choosing times and locations to expose your puppy to. Number two is to be flexible. So I said things will change, the environment will change, and as you get to know your new dog, you will be learning a lot about them, learning to read their body language. And the more you observe, the better you will understand when they are uncomfortable. And when this happens, and it will, just be prepared to change your plans, shorten the outing if needed. You may have, packed a great picnic and plans to take your puppy out to a park and spend a few hours hanging out on a nice day, which is awesome. It's a really great idea. But say, for example, I don't know, a rowdy group of people show up and they're blasting music, and for some reason it's making your puppy uncomfortable. Don't hesitate to either move to a different spot, or just leave. If it's something that's overwhelmingly scary for your puppy, because just continuing to expose them to something that's making them more scared doesn't guarantee that they're just going to get used to it or get over it. Like I said, it's a sensitive period, which means if they're exposed to something that's overwhelming and scary, that is creating a negative experience for that dog, and it could potentially sensitize them, which, as it may sound, is the opposite of desensitize them to things. And so that's why we want to be careful about just the whole he'll get over it attitude. You're there to protect and teach your puppy. So your job is to make sure that the puppy's okay. That's your job as a new puppy parent. Okay, so be thoughtful, be flexible, be brief. Plan to keep interactions short. The shorter they are, the less chance there is for things to go wrong, which means that there's a greater chance that they will just have a positive experience and walk away feeling like that was fun, that was great, let's do it again tomorrow. We want to walk away on a really positive note. The longer you stay, the more potential there is for your puppy to get tired and cranky. We know that puppies need a lot of sleep. And if you're hanging out for an hour somewhere, that's actually a really long time for a puppy to be awake and taking in all this information. And just like human babies, just like human adults, we might get cranky when we're tired. And if we're cranky and experiencing these things, again, potential for that experience to be a little bit tainted, which is, again, opposite of our goal in socialization. So keep it brief. A positive interaction is one that's going to be remembered much more favorably by your puppy. So that's why that matters. Let's see. Be brief. Be thorough. So I mentioned the checklists. You have only, at most, probably 4 to 8 weeks to get that bang for buck. Like I said, that is not a lot of time to pack in everything that your dog should be introduced to. So I like to break it down into categories, or just download a puppy socialization checklist to give you an idea of different categories that you might want to address, and make sure that you are hitting several items in each category. So we know, like, the obvious ones are people and dogs. We want to make sure that that the dog is witnessing, meeting different types of people. I mentioned, different races, different or ethnicities, different ages. But be careful with young kids. Not everybody is safe to meet your dog. So be selective, but meet a variety of people. And if you don't want to have them interact directly, that's great. That's fine. But get out where your dog can at least observe different types of people. People who might have different gaits. People might be walking with a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. People wearing hoodies and backpacks and hats. Those are common things that dog might be spooked by when they're older. So they're great candidates for socializing your puppy too. Let's see. Oh, people wearing helmets, people on wheeled things, skateboards and bikes. I mean, there's so many different wheeled things these days. It seems like that. Even I'm like, what is that? I don't know. Unicycles, who knows? But people moving in different ways. Movement's a big one for dogs. Dogs are much more aware of the silhouettes and movements, which is why wearing different things can make such a big difference. You know, for puppies who are born in the summer and they never see a winter coat until 6 months later, they might be like, who are you? Once you've got a winter coat on. It's crazy. So yeah, all these different types of people wearing different types of things, different animals. We want dogs to be able to at least tolerate, if not be friendly with other dogs. So they need to meet other vaccinated and well-socialized dogs who can be polite with puppies. Not all dogs are safe for your dog to meet, so don't assume that any dog out in public, it's okay for your puppy to run up to. This is big, guys. This is so important that you don't just let your puppy do whatever. When you are out with your dog, with your 2 to 4 month old puppy, be very aware of what they're doing, which is why another reason I really hate flexi leads is because if they are not locked and short and your puppy's not with you, your puppy can wander up to whoever and potentially have a scary or traumatizing experience, and that again is going to affect them for life. Wagging tails, thank you. Thanks for joining. So be selective, but be thoughtful and be thorough about make appointments, find people with friendly dogs or people with other puppies who are doing the same thing in your community and get together, or find well-run puppy socials and puppy classes so that you've got a professional supervising and screening and making sure that all the puppies are having good experiences. But it doesn't stop there at people and dogs. Sounds, a lot of dogs develop sound sensitivities. So exposing them to sounds that we know often cause problems in older dogs, like sounds of traffic. Sometimes the sounds of trains going by or buses. Buses can make loud, screechy sounds if you live in a city. And sometimes those can become problematic for some dogs. So when your dog is exposed to potentially scary sounds like that, we know thunderstorms and fireworks are other big ones, doorbells. You want to always, when you're out socializing your pup, or when your pup is exposed to sights and sounds and sensations that are new to them, follow it up with play, praise, and treats. You want to always follow these experiences with what I just call it a puppy party. Like, we throw a little mini puppy party. Oh, there was a thunderstorm. Yay! Here's some cookies and we're going to go play a game now. Lights of happy talk and involve the food. And I say this because we want to make sure that the puppy leaves with a positive impression, which means that by mere exposure, it's still kind of up to chance about the impression that your puppy has, right? Like, if you've taken your puppy out, maybe if you even got them in the sling or in the stroller and they're not, they're still safe, but a bus drives by and backfires, that exposure might, for your individual dog, might mean that puppy is like, oh, like nothing terrible happened? Okay, cool, that sound must be fine. But for some dogs, they might be so frightened that they're like, oh my gosh, that better not happen again. That was terrifying. And if you don't do anything more after the fact, uh, who knows? Who knows how your puppy felt about it? They may not. They may not. They might not be super outwardly expressive in the moment, but that's just how things go. We don't know. So after all new experiences, make sure it's playtime and food and happy talk. Yes, Kevin, puppy party. So yeah, all the different types of sounds. We talked about wheeled things. Let's see. There are other objects that often cause problems for dogs. The bringing your trash bins. The sound of a trash bin being wheeled out to the street is often scary for a lot of dogs. So yeah, get them around moving trash bins. It sounds ridiculous, but this is part of socialization, and this is the kind of thing that you can do even before leaving your home. Is maybe bring them out to the garage and just wheel the bin for a couple feet and then puppy party, and then wheel it again and puppy party. Your puppy will soon be following that thing around, like tail up and wagging, like, hey, this is awesome, I love trash bins. Like, and it sounds ridiculous, right? But this is what we mean when we're talking about doing socialization right, is don't leave it up to chance, and don't leave it just to being around other humans and dogs. That's not enough. What other objects? Umbrellas. If you live in a place that has rain and people use umbrellas, that's a really good one. Balloons, vacuums, dishwashers, things in your home that make sounds like that. I mean, vacuums that's a big one, right? Before you have to just turn that vacuum on the first time, you can teach your puppy that thing sitting in the corner, oh, that's safe. Oh, me pushing it around, that's safe. Puppy party. Before you even turn it on. And then the first time you do turn it on, maybe turn it on for just a second, puppy party, and then for longer, and puppy party, right? That is what I mean by gradual socialization. Don't just leave it to chance. Can you guys think of, I mean, now that we've got this kind of rolling, can you think of other situations or items that you might want your dog to feel are safe? Feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm gonna keep going on a couple of things that I have on my list, but if you've got anything that you want to contribute, we'll collaborate here. We'll put it all together. Ooh, okay. So these are some big ones. Different locations that your dog might need to feel really good about are your groomer and your vet. These are places that even if you don't have to go for an appointment, you can take socialization trips there. Most vets these days, well, okay, maybe not these days. You might want to talk to them in advance, or make a special appointment for this, given this year. But aside from Voldemort, we know that taking trips, even just to the building, can be helpful in teaching the dog that going to this place isn't always a bad thing. It's not always scary. So yes, those are big ones. Even without going to the specific location, you can help teach your puppy that certain procedures are safe at home. You probably will be doing some grooming on your own at home, so you can get them used to nail trims and brushing even before they ever have to go and maybe get a professional groom. Different situations, so car rides are good to expose your puppy to. If you live in a building with elevators, that's a big one. Stairs can pose problems for a lot of dogs. And there are lots of different types of stairs too. So getting your puppy on not just carpeted stairs, but maybe concrete stairs or metal stairs, wooden stairs, stairs where you can see through the slats. Those are often scarier for dogs. Just to give you an idea of different types of situations, about how to be thorough. Just because they've gone up the front step, the 3 or 4 front steps to your building, for example, it doesn't mean, okay, check, stairs are done. You want to think about all the different situations that they might have to encounter. Stairs are one category of different types of surfaces, and surfaces are a big one. Because dogs walk around and they are in direct contact with the ground, there are many different types of surfaces that they might encounter, and not all dogs are okay with different types of surfaces. You may, gosh, there's not just carpet and linoleum and wood, tile in your home. Those are going to have varying textures and different levels of how slippery they are. But outside, you've got grass and you've got concrete and you've got maybe grates in the floor or in the path. There's dirt and mulch and sand and rocky. There's a million different types of surfaces. So again, get your pup out on a variety of different surfaces in their first 3 or 4 months of life. Body handling is huge, and that's part of those grooming and veterinary procedures that you might work on at home. But also, like, we often have to handle our dogs in a variety of ways as they get older. Sometimes maybe they've picked something up that they shouldn't have in their mouth, and if it's potentially dangerous, you might just feel the need to just grab their jaws and yank it out, right? We don't want puppies learning that that human hands coming at their head is dangerous. So make their first experiences where you have to maybe touch their muzzle, maybe open their jaws, make it positive by touching and then popping a treat in their mouth. Oh, that's all you were going to do? Okay, Mom, sure, you can open my muzzle, open my mouth. Let's see. Just holding their limbs or even picking them up. Picking them up is a huge one. A lot of small dogs develop body handling issues because people just pick them up willy-nilly without being concerned about how the dog feels about it. And puppyhood is a great time to teach them that being picked up and handled is okay if you do it in a gradual manner that always takes into consideration that they're not, again, overwhelmed or that it's not a negative experience for them. Sometimes we have to look at those paws and their paw pads, not just for nail trims, but like in California, there's foxtails. Foxtails are a plant that, if you're not familiar, it's got a shape where it's got a pointy end, and then there's all these like little offshoots. So what happens is it's pointy enough to pierce a dog's skin, and once it goes in, those little things prevent it from coming back out on its own. So it will just keep burying itself deeper and deeper, and it can be very dangerous. So where we lived in California, we had to check for foxtails all the time, especially for longer haired breeds, which will require us to really get in there and examine those paws and maybe push their little pads apart just to make sure, because they often go in between their paw pads. So many situations where we have to inspect their ears, look at their eyes, wipe their eyes, all of these things. That's all a great part of socialization, things to include. Let's see. We talked about surfaces, we talked about sounds and wheeled things, different objects, locations. This can be good because locations are great places that you don't necessarily have to have your dog on the ground. These are great times to bring out the puppy purse or the stroller, but just going to maybe the parking lot at the grocery store, or taking them into hardware stores are great because most hardware stores will allow dogs inside, but they're not overwhelming. But it's a great way to just get them out into public, into different types of places. They do need, if they're going to be in a city, they do need to just at least witness, busy streets with lots of dogs and people walking by. Training classes, great. Dog-friendly office. Anybody who plans to take their dog to work, maybe the route to your job or being inside that building. Could be important to introduce them to young, so that they're not overwhelmed when they're older. Oh, this list is so long, I can't name everything. But hopefully you guys are starting to get the idea that puppies need to be exposed to tons of things, but we want to do it in a way that is still careful of their physical health, so that they're not catching any life-threatening viruses. We don't want them getting sick or injured either, of course. But so we need to get them out, but we need to do it in a way that is protective of their physical health and their feelings. And the idea is always to create experiences that are positive and leaving the dog wanting to go back. I will, let's see. Kevin says, my dog used to hate going on the subway because she had to go into a carry bag. So yeah, the public transportation could be a really great example. You know, some cities allow dogs to be in public transportation. Some allow them, but they have to be, like you said, in a carry bag. So, and you can teach a dog, even when they're older, to get into a bag like that and to be okay with it. But again, really, really great suggestion, really great candidate for something to introduce when the puppy's younger, because it'll be so much easier to get them used to it before they're 3 and 4 months old than having to teach them later. That's a really good one. Thank you. I'll end my how to think about socialization with this last one, which is just be your dog's advocate. People are drawn to puppies. They're gonna be drawn to your dog. Other dogs are going to be drawn to your dog, but your puppy may not want to interact with everybody or every dog at a given moment, and not all dogs and all people are safe to be interacting with your dog. So don't shy away from speaking up for your dog. If you don't feel like a situation is safe, or you are noticing that your puppy, something's making your puppy uncomfortable and you don't want to interact, don't be afraid to tell people, and don't be afraid to be really firm about it, because people will not hear you the first time. I've learned from experience that sometimes if someone's approaching you because you've got a cute dog, they may ask if it's okay to interact, but if you say no, they might just not hear you until they're like already interacting, and then they're like, oh, like, sorry. So if you've got time and you feel very strongly about it, don't be afraid to just say stop. Say it loudly and strongly, because you have to get people's attention. That's what being your dog's advocate can mean. If it means protecting your puppy, when it's just a person, it may not be as important as if it's a person with their dog. So a lot of times people whose dogs kind of pull them everywhere, if their dog really wants to come say hi to your puppy, that person may be trying to stop their dog, or maybe they just will be letting their dog. Again, saying a very strong, firm stop might get the person to really make sure that they do not continue that approach. If that's not going to work, don't be afraid to turn and go, or pick up your puppy if necessary, if your puppy's on the ground. But yeah, don't be afraid to avoid people, get out of dodge. Do not worry about being rude or having people judge you, because you have 2 months to make sure that your puppy has really positive experiences. And if you're still here with me, if you're still watching this, it's obviously because you care about creating these positive experiences for your dog. So if there's a risk, don't be afraid to say something. I know you won't, but I'm stressing this because it's hard, because I personally have found it difficult. I am a recovering people pleaser, and I want, I don't want to offend anybody ever, but that puppy socialization, that time of development is so important that I'll be rude if I have to. I'm getting better at it, and I want you to learn from my experience, that it's okay, you know, especially if you don't know them or you're not going to see them again. Like, who cares? The puppy's the one that's going to live with you for the next 10 to 15 years. So yeah, no, be their advocate. That's your job. So yeah, and that's it. That's it, really. No, I just want to say, if you have any questions, also feel free to leave them in the comments right now. I still have some time to answer questions if you've got them. But if not, I do want to say for everybody else, that if you still have doubts about taking your puppy out anywhere, if you're still feeling just unsure, have a candid conversation with your vet, where you share the AVSIB position statement. That's the American Veterinary Society for Animal Behavior. Again, it is written by veterinarians who specialize in behavior. They are the authority on puppy socialization. So it's a great resource to have that conversation with your vet about your feelings. And secondly, get a positive reinforcement trainer on your team. If you're feeling that way, maybe someone else can no. Hopefully I have helped you feel a little bit more confident about how to get your puppy out safely, and so that you're making the most of that time. But if you're still unsure, get a third opinion, because that time is limited, and I don't want you to miss out. I don't want your puppy to miss out. And yeah, so do it today, because that window is so short. It's so short. And our pups, they've got their whole lives ahead of them. So we want to set them up for success. We want them to reach their potential, and proper socialization is the best way to do that. So, all right. Well, that's it, guys. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go get my pup, and we're going to go get dinner. It's dinner time. So thank you so much for joining me, all of you who are here. Really appreciate you being with me. And if it is your first time here, or if you have not subscribed yet, be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook, hit like and or follow, so that you don't miss out on other really important dog information that is coming up. And if you know someone who is getting a puppy or has just gotten a puppy, feel free to share this video with them, because it's so important. It's so important for all of our dogs' welfare. So, all right. Thanks again, guys. Mwah! Love you so much. I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.